Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 13th, 2023 Mason City Council meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and before we have roll call, I was given a reminder after the last meeting that all of us here on council, we need to make sure we're speaking really clearly in our mics. I had someone tell me that they really have a hard time hearing just here in the audience. So I really would appreciate anybody in the audience, if you're not hearing us, please raise your hand or get up and do a dance or something. Let us know that you're not hearing us, okay? Thank you. So now I will ask for roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Chance.
Here.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Present.
Councilmember Hackey.
Here.
Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Stricula.
Here.
Mayor Spaeth.
Yes, here. Okay. All right, I'm going to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right, thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the February 13th, 2023 council meeting and the March 1st, 2023 special council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. We're to item 5, which is the city manager's report. Eric.
Sorry, Mayor. A little behind, but I'm speaking to my microphone, so that's good. Couple of items here. As council's aware, there are several city events that we participate in, including Music in Mason, Red Rhythm Boom, Heritage Festival, Christmas in Mason, where we partner with the American Legion. They request temporary liquor permits from the state of Ohio, but those events are typically held on city property, including the downtown plaza. Council, throughout the year, typically passes a motion to allow for alcohol service on those pieces of ground. What we're asking for tonight, I should mention the Legion also splits the profits from those sales between the Legion and the Parks Foundation to benefit all of Mason. To continue that, we're asking council to consider a motion to approve the sale of alcohol at the downtown plaza and the Mason Municipal Campus for those events throughout the year 2023. So to give them both a planning horizon as well as to consolidate council activity. This motion would cover all of those events through the end of this year. A motion is recommended.
Okay, does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Also want to continue to acknowledge, as part of celebrating Mason's ranking as the 4th best place to live, the city each month is engaging in something that demonstrates our culture of wellness and our partnership with TriHealth. Throughout the month of March, the city is highlighting what has become one of the defining attributes for the city of Mason, which is inclusivity. We have a number of assets that have grown, probably the keystone of those being McKeno Park. But this month, we are highlighting a community that represents a variety of backgrounds and abilities with respect, compassion, opportunities. A couple of examples of that, and folks that are interested can go to the city's website and see a number of activities that highlight this. But on March 21st, to celebrate World Down Syndrome Day, the public is welcome to bring a friend for a free day at the Mason Community Center. The following week, on Wednesday, March 29th, the Community Center is hosting an inclusive fitness family fun class at 2 p.m. Again, if you have interest in those events or any of the other activities going on through this month, the city's website has additional information. City of Mason offices will be closed on Friday, April 7th. That's in observance of Good Friday. The Community Center will be open regular hours on both Friday and Saturday, but on Easter Sunday, the Community Center is open from 12 to 4 p.m. with limited access. However, waste collection provided by Rumpke will not be affected by the holidays, so take your trash out on the same days you're accustomed to. Also coming up in April, city tax returns are due on Tuesday, April 18th. The Mason Tax Office goes to, I think, extraordinary lengths to provide all the assistance to help residents in completing and abiding by their tax obligations. They can, and I have now done this 2 years, and I'm not great at this, but they can have their taxes calculated as well as filed online by visiting the city's website, clicking on individual or business next to tax information. They can also visit the tax office in person, again, here at the customer service counter, and receive personal assistance. They can also contact the office via city phone numbers to have assistance over the phone. The tax office is also offering extended hours on Saturday, April 15th, Monday, April 17th, and Tuesday, April 18th to 7 p.m. On those days. So everything we can do, they go to the lengths to help residents meet. I'd like to ask council for a favor that is somewhat difficult for me. I'd like to ask council to consider moving resolution 2023-9 to this point on the agenda. I think this is difficult for me because this is acknowledging Kendra Taylor, and Kendra is both personal and professionally very close to me. What's even harder for me, though, is that that's not just true of me. There's probably everyone in the city that would say the same thing of how close she is, both personally and professionally. I just take this moment to let council know, and I think you're already aware of this, but the city has, over the several years, I think, and I'm very proud of, developed a reputation for compassion as well as service. And I think Kendra Taylor both embodies that and has been the cornerstone of that part of Mason's culture. So if council is willing, I'd like to ask you to move resolution 2023-9 to this point in the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I think without objection, is that okay with everyone? We do that? Okay. Let's have resolution 2023-9. I think, Jeff, you're going to read this.
Resolution 2023-9, commending Kendra Taylor for her outstanding dedication and service to the city of Mason, Ohio. Whereas Kendra Taylor is retiring after giving over 26 years of dedicated service to the city of Mason, Ohio, serving as secretary to the building department from June 3rd, 1996 to May 20th, 2014, and executive assistant to the city manager from May 21, 2014 to March 31, 2023. And whereas in her role as secretary, she served as the face of the engineering and building department, providing the highest quality of customer service as she responded to inquiries, scheduled inspections, provided written communications, assisted with permits, and performed administrative responsibilities as needed. In her role as executive assistant, she was the go-to person for administrative operations and became an integral part of growing Mason's culture for collaboration, communication, cooperation, and compassion. And whereas, in addition to her duties in both the building department and administration, Kendra led the City of Mason's United Way employee campaign since 1998. Earning Campaign Coordinator of the Year in 2015 and led the city's Exceed the Need Committee since the early 2000s. And whereas Kendra has been an instrumental team member in countless city events and initiatives, such as securing a postal unit inside Symbiosis at the Community Center, Customer Service Bucks, the Mason Municipal Center Committee, Heritage Festival, Bicentennial, Red Rhythm and Boom, and Makino Park Event Incident Command Teams, Economic Development Recruitment Projects, IT Representative, and City Team 1. And whereas Kendra has served as an ambassador to new residents of the Mason community, participating in monthly new resident coffees at the Mason Community Center. In this capacity, she welcomed new residents, provided key information related to city services, and connected new residents to community resources. And whereas Kendra has witnessed significant growth in the city of Mason throughout her career, from a city of approximately 16,000 residents and a staff of 140 employees in 1996 to a community of over 35,000 residents and an organization of nearly 350 employees currently. Whereas even more significant than the growth and changes within the city, Kendra has been a leader, mentor, and friend, and has devoted the last 26 years dedicated to serving the residents of the city of Mason. And whereas Kendra's unique talent to add a personal touch to every interaction and assignment will truly be missed. And whereas a grateful community of Mason council members, employees, and residents wish Kendra Taylor continued success and happiness in retirement. Now therefore, be it unanimously resolved by the Council of the City of Mason, Ohio, Section 1, that Kendra Taylor is hereby given the commendation of the Council of the City of Mason for her outstanding and distinguished service to said city. Section 2, that the Clerk of Council is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to Kendra Taylor. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be in force from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Thank you, Jeff. Eric, did you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm too scared to. Well, I should add, I did let Kendra know, and so it's publicly stated, even if we follow through with this resolution, it's not too late.
Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, council discussion? I did want to add,
Sorry, Mayor,
yes.
if I could ask Kendra and introduce her husband, Steve, to go ahead and come up to the podium now.
She's like, don't do that. I just wanted to also say, there was a reception for Kendra prior to our meeting, and a lot of us already got to say some things that we wanted to say, but I just also wanted to add that, honestly, I don't even remember Eric, I was saying, I don't even remember Eric having anybody else but you assisting him, and they said there was someone else, and I guess I do know who, I probably, if I saw her face, would remember, but
I hope
that's...
it's not watching.
Well, but that's just how much of an impact that you've had on me, Kendra, because you're the only person have remembered being there always to help not just Eric and the city, but you have helped every one of us here on council, because anytime we ever needed anything, you've always been able to do that and done that graciously, and just, you're one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I love being able to come in and get some fashion advice from you, and and I've always been amazed at the time that you spend, not just doing the administrative work, but like anytime there's like a special gift needed for a guest or any of the events we have, you always go so much out of the way researching really cool things to give people, and I just think that you're so thoughtful and so wonderful. And I guess I'm not as worried about missing Kendra forever, because she and I have a little special bond. We know what it is, that we're going to be together forever, right? I'll explain that afterwards, but this is it's a kind of a personal thing, but we do have a way that we're going to probably spend eternity together, right? I'm going to ask if anybody else has anything else that they want to say before we give her resolution. Is anybody else? Yes.
Just real quick, we keep gracious and gratefulness is something that is continuously said, especially in the resolution and when we were at the reception earlier. And I don't know if I ever showed up and you didn't have a smile on your face. And that's what I think we're all going to miss. And I'm sure in this environment, having someone with such an even keel just to calm everything down, I know that's going to be tremendously missed. And again, you're my guest to Red Rhythm and Boom, so anytime, because I think I want you to be able to come enjoy it, because you work so freaking hard that night, entertaining, and to the mayor's point, just making sure everyone feels welcomed, everyone from us to the kids to everyone else. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done in the city.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, as I said before, we did have a reception and everyone got an opportunity to say what they wanted to say to Kendra, and we now have a resolution here that we're going to give, and I guess we're all going to come up for a picture, right, and give this to, okay. I'm sorry, what? Oh, yeah, Kendra, please introduce your husband.
This is my husband, Steve Taylor.
Hello.
And I just want to let council and Eric and Jennifer know that I appreciate this opportunity to come to council and all the nice things everyone said, and all the the fact that I have my own resolution. So thank you so much. It's very, very much of an honor and humbling.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's,
It was very loud.
no, you're welcome. That's hilarious.
Thank you again, Kendra and Steve. We really, really do appreciate it. And I'm glad you're still going to be here for a couple more weeks because we'll come in and harass you a little bit. Take care. Okay. Eric, did you have any more city business, city manager's report?
Yep, that concludes the manager's report. Thank you for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not do the roll call on that. I missed that. Yeah.
They didn't vote.
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I messed up. We need a roll call on that. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you all are here to keep me straight. All right. We are to, where are we? We're to item number 6. Is that right? We're at the Mason Mile update by the Maid CDC. And I'll let you all introduce yourselves if you would mind, if you don't mind.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, and staff. My name is Casey Richards, and I live at 216 Short Street. I'm a board member of the Mason Deerfield Community Development Corporation and also an active volunteer within the Mason Mile Core team. I'm here this evening to share some exciting updates on the Mason Mile project. The Mason Mile project is a community-led, market-driven project. We are honoring our history while building into the future a fresh, healthy, and sustainable place for people to live, work, and play. The Mason Mile project has a core team of volunteers that consists of David Charpentier, Annie Droege, Chris Heim, and myself, as well as administrative staff that includes Sherry Taylor and Sydney Hayes. The consulting team consists of Randall Gross from Randall Gross Development Economics, Jay Becker from BLDG Brands, and then Keith Covington from Common Ground Urban Design and Planning. Work underway this month by the consulting team and community includes, but is not limited to, work on the residential market analysis, the awareness campaign, and branding and visual identity. The residential market analysis is a major part of the analytical work that will be used to inform the strategic plan. The analysis includes existing residential market trends assessment, interviews, data collection, demographic analysis and forecasting, competitive context assessment, site potentials, and product mix identification. The residential market study is the most time-intensive component of the analytical work and is about 60% of the way complete. So we're roughly within a week or two of our target time frame, and it coincides with more intensive work and engagement on developing the visual identity of the Mason Mile. The Mason Mile Awareness Campaign is planned to be about a 60-day campaign, and this is a campaign to use to spread the word about the project and get even more community involvement as we go along. So far, we have distributed about 150 yard signs, which Sherry has a kind of a what it looks like, 100 decals, and 500 or more flyers for businesses and residents in the Mason Mile area. In addition to yard signs, decals, and flyers, BLDG provided 10 comment boxes that are located around the Mason Mile area, and these will be used to collect data input from the community as well. Just a huge thank you to Mason area businesses, Alpha Graphics, and Wall Decal World for helping to make the yard signs and window decals. And a huge thank you to all the community members that stepped up and got involved and helped us distribute all of these signs, decals, and flyers. When it comes to branding and visual identity, BLDG has initiated work on the broader branding design effort, including a site visit to walk the district, take photographs, and observe key opportunities that they see. They have started to identify spaces for activation, and they will be taking some initial ideas to the March, and it's the March 21st activator meetings to gain feedback and insights on the basic design. All are welcome and encouraged to attend. For individuals that are interested in more details on the project as they come available, you can visit our website at makethemile.com, join our Downtown Mason Mile Project Facebook group, attend a quarterly meetup, or get involved by becoming an activator and coming to those meetings. Thank you to everyone that has been involved thus far, and thank you to all of you on Mason City Council for partnering with us to make all this happen. We are honored to build on all the good work that's been done over the years and continue to move at the speed of trust. We do have a few yard signs left. If any of you council members would like to take one, are we just gonna leave them in the back? We'll leave them in the back for you guys, so if you'd like to take one. Thank you all for your time, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're to item 7, Women Walking West presentation by Dr. George Seehey. I'm sorry.
Let me lower this a little bit. Good evening, Mayor, Mason City Council members, City Manager, and staff. On behalf of Women Walking West, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak briefly about Women Walking West and give you some updates. In the audience, I want to recognize one of our board members, Ms. Sherry Taylor, somewhere in there, she's there. And I'll be brief, be respectful of your time. Most of you here are aware of Women Walking West and what we do. Our mission is basically to afford foreign-born women who live in the U.S. illegally achieve their educational goals. How do we do that? By removing barriers, cultural barriers, social, academic barriers, financial barriers, so they can achieve whatever their goal may be. Our vision, our values, our compassion, academic success, respect, and empathy for the constituents we serve. People think sometimes that all we do is get supports from the community and give them out in terms of scholarships to women. Well, that is not really the case. The focus is on mentorship, and our mentorship is one-on-one. Every incoming woman is assigned to a professional mentor, and mentors are basically guiding, advising these ladies one-on-one to achieve their goals. And their goals may be getting a baccalaureate degree, getting a high school diploma or GED, or go to medical school. Language barriers, social barriers, cultural, academic, and financial barriers, as I mentioned, are the core of what we do. There's not an organization in the country that I know of, and you can prove me wrong or let me know who it is, that does what we do in terms of focusing on foreign-born women. Why do we do that? This graphic shows the purpose of Women Walking West and why we are in existence. When a woman and a man are born, they are equal, however you look at it, and the gender gaps get bigger and wider. But as they get older, they survive to age 5, and then you can see the education gaps gets wider. You will see that by the time they are teenagers, the 21% married before the age of 18, and so forth. And at the very end, you will see 26% gap in workforce. Now, this data is not for Mason or the U.S. This is in general all over the world. This is the reason why Women Walking West exists. Educational achievement, look at the number of Native members of our population, 38% with a college education versus foreign-born who have foreign-born 51, no college education, 51% among foreign-born women, I'm sorry, foreign-born population, and 38% among natives. Now, so that's a huge gap. And when you look at the poverty level among natives is about 12% or a little over 12%, and for foreign-born is 14%. As far as the income, you see the foreign-born women making an average of $39,000, male foreign-born $46,000, female native 44, and male native 55. So there's a huge gap there. In terms of the degree achievement and attainment, you can see that the less than high school diploma, there are 27% foreign-born and 12% natives. So you can take a look at the bars and you see this discrepancy and the gap between the natives and foreign-born. I'm not sure if some of you know there are approximately 18,500 foreign-born women in the Cincinnati area over the age of 15. Of those, only 3.6% have a baccalaureate degree. I'm not suggesting the key to success and having a good career is a baccalaureate degree, but I'm just showing you one point of data that would tell you the difference in terms of the educational achievement. That's a huge number. Currently, Women Walking West is serving 145 women from 43 different countries, and what you see is the example of the countries where our female population are coming from. Who are these people? Well, first of all, we have a number of 145 mentees that we are supporting, 25 of which live in the Mason area. I wanted to mention that to you so you understand the impact that we are making in Mason. Number of volunteers we have is 103 people. I'm very blessed. We are blessed to have dedicated volunteers who are involved in marketing, advertising, IT people, web designers, and so forth, that allows us to put our focus and our revenue into scholarships and supporting these women. People say, well, are these ladies going to stay here or going to go back to their home countries? Well, I'm pleased to tell you that 23% of the ladies we are serving are American citizens. They are people like me who are naturalized American citizens. And there are 41% permanent resident. These are green card holders. These are ladies who are seeking citizenship, and that's the first step to citizenship. The 36% have a visa. They are here, they are legal, they could be here as a student, they are married to, they are a housewife of someone who works for a company, or they are here to work temporarily or what have you. Would these people stay in here? We don't know. But our philosophy is that even when you educate a woman in the U.S. and she may go back to Afghanistan, we have educated a woman who's going to make a change, make a difference in the life of people in the future. Now, I want to briefly tell you that the support we provide is very laborious support for our mentors, because in order for us to make sure these ladies are achieving their goals, you got to really hold their hands. You come to a system that is complicated. Even our native students who go to college or university, they are intimidated by the system, how complicated it is. So when they get here and they want to go and enroll in a college or university, they don't understand the culture, they don't understand the process, their English is not up to par, and they have all kinds of issues that needs to be dealt with. So our mentors are basically advisors for these ladies, telling them about, acclimating them with the society, not only from the educational point of view, but cultural and social. How are we supported? Individual donations, corporate sponsorship, government sponsorship, such as grants, higher education partners. We have about 7 partners, higher education partners, including Sinclair Community College, where we have our office, Xavier University, Purdue, and alike. We have K-12 partners that are supporting us, and we have endowments. Endowments are a big portion of our assets. These are money that being given to the organization, restricted funds to be given only to students, to ladies, and we cannot spend the money unless it is being spent for providing financial support. A special event like our gala, I want to thank the city for always being there and sponsoring a table at the gala. We very much appreciate that. And in-kind support, of course, our volunteers. The future depends on what we do in the present, and I want to thank you for listening to me, and I think this is the shortest talk I've ever made. So thank you so much. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer you.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go on to item number 8, which is recognition of visitors. And if anybody is here to speak to the public hearing, that is item number 12, which is ordinance 2023-13, I'm going to ask that you wait to speak during the public hearing. Otherwise, is there anyone that would like to get up and speak now for recognition of visitors? Okay. Please come to the podium and state your name and address, and council rules we allow for 5 minutes.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Mayor, council members, as well as city staff. My name's Ryan Cleary. I live at 5156 Minuteman Court in Mason, Ohio here. It's part of the Concord Crossing neighborhood. I was last here in front of council over a year ago, and I expressed some concerns with the traffic in that part of downtown Mason. I had concerns on, bless you. Sure. I had concerns on Concord Crossing mainly. It's seen a lot more traffic due to increases in bus traffic, as well as there's semis, believe it or not, illegal semis that are using the road, as well as a lot more speeders. There's only 2 stop signs, and amazingly, there's people that still see the need to speed through and not even stop at those 2 stop signs just to save a minute. So we've had a lot of kind of traffic concerns. And so I'm not here this evening to have any more complaints. I actually wanted to say thanks to the city. The kids came home from the bus stop. They've said that they've seen an uptick in police presence in the neighborhood. And it's really made a huge difference in what they've noticed, because the people that take their kids to the bus stop notice a lot of people running the stop signs, even though they're standing there with their children. It's kind of hard to believe, I'm sure, but it happens, and we see it happen. So the kids were, brought the news home that there's been a lot more police presence in the neighborhood, which is very well welcomed. And we know that the weather's going to get nicer. The kids are going to be outside. There's going to be more people driving through the neighborhood, of course. But Mason has so many great things going on in the downtown area that we just look forward to kind of continue to ensure that these kids are safe, and that people are safe that are out using the amenities that that Mason has. So really, I wanted to thank, the Mason Police Department, officer number 13. I guess they have their numbers on their license plate. So thank you, and thanks to council here for making a great city that we have to live in. It's I think it's admired by a lot of the friends that I have that don't live here when we tell them about all the stuff that we have going on in Mason. So it's something to be proud of. We thank you. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate that. Would anyone else like to come up to the podium? Okay. We have already done item 9, so I'm going to go to item 10, which is Resolution 2023-10, and I need a motion to read by title only, please. All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
A resolution to accept the terms of national opioid settlements and authorizing the city manager to execute any and all related documents and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Eric.
Yes, Mayor, this is somewhat a review. Council will recall about 18 months ago, you adopted a resolution that allowed the city to participate in what were settlement funds that were being done nationally through several states as part of a national, essentially a class action settlement with pharmaceutical companies to handle liability they may have for opioid epidemic. These funds were administered through the state of Ohio, One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding to be distributed to localities to compensate for the expenses and programs necessary incurred because of the opioid epidemic. Council participated it is a massive program rolled out nationally and through the state. There is approximately $17 billion in settlement funds anticipated to be distributed. What this resolution has, what has since occurred and it will continue to occur is other entities through the supply chain. So there were settlements with a couple of larger pharmaceutical companies. Additional pharmaceutical companies are trying to join that settlement, as well as other pharmacies and further down the supply chain to handle any liabilities they may have. What that means is there are additional funds coming in and additional settlements that are being reached. Resolution by council will allow the city to also participate in those settlement funds under similar circumstances with the state of Ohio, One Ohio. And the language is such so that as additional settlements are reached with other entities, authorizes us to continue to participate with them on similar grounds. So this kind of an appendix of sort to the earlier action to allow us to extend that program. It is recommended for adoption.
All right, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, is there any council discussion? Okay, I need roll call, please.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Okay, item 11, Resolution 2023-11. I need a motion to read by title only. All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Recognizing Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month.
Okay, Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, as Eric indicated earlier, we have this year, we are celebrating our fourth best place to live, and as such, much of our monthly programming and activities are focused on our continued commitment to building a culture of wellness in our community as we recognize the fourth best place to live. With National Development Disability Awareness Month being observed in March, much of our activities and programs is focused on using Mason as a community that represents a variety of backgrounds and abilities and embraces respect, compassion, and opportunity for all, and really promoting that. The city's wellness amenities are designed to remove barriers and allow for inclusive use. Makino Park is the city's signature park and serves as the inspiration to provide recreational opportunities that can be enjoyed by all, regardless of age, ability, and it continues to be a regional destination for inclusive play. Makino Park has become the foundation of how we build inclusivity throughout the Masons Park system. As we upgrade and improve parks, for instance, Pine Hill Park, we add inclusive structures to that as well as fencing, which provides a tremendous or significant safety feature for parents of children with special needs. Our newest park, the Palmyra Dog Park, was developed to ensure everyone in the community can enjoy the park with their furry friends. The city continues to partner with organizations that help further Mason's mission to grow inclusive facilities and programming. For instance, the city has a longstanding partnership with the Mason Challenger League. They're a youth baseball organization for children with physical and developmental disabilities. The Challenger League has been instrumental in fundraising efforts to complete Phase 2 adaptive fields at McKeno Park. The Mason Youth Basketball program offers an all-inclusive all-star program that helps develop players' skills and abilities, and Mason's Champion Swim program is designed so individuals with physical or developmental disabilities can participate in an athletic environment and strengthen skills such as teamwork, sportsmanship, and self-esteem. Mason's Community Center is at the heart of much of our programming, and I wanted to highlight some of the things we're doing over there as well. The Community Center serves as a job readiness facility, offering opportunities for individuals with disabilities to learn job skills. Caregivers who assist individuals are welcome in the facility for free. The facility has Carter kits, sensory bags that are available for kids that need some comfort or support throughout the day. We also have OxyFloats, which are a unique flotation device that allow individuals to bring their oxygen tanks into the pool. And as Eric mentioned, on Tuesday, March 21st, the Community Center will celebrate World Down Syndrome Day, where individuals can bring a friend to the facility for free. And Wednesday, March 29th, our group exercise instructors are providing a fitness fun family class at 2:00 p.m. Today, members of our Community Center wore yellow, and staff read the book, I Choose Yellow, to all the kids visiting Kids Corner. The book was created in loving memory of Emily Casey, who was a Mason resident. The book shares with others Emily's message of positivity while tackling life's challenges. We remain committed to the journey we have begun and the opportunities that lie ahead to enhance inclusivity throughout the community. Resolution 2023-11 is recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, is there any council discussion?
I'm not online, so
Where's that coming from?
no, just my iPad, sorry.
I would just like to point out, I know that Jennifer talked about a lot of activities, and so all of those can be found on the City of Mason website. If you go to imaginemason.org, at the top on the front page, there's the scrolling, what do you call it, the scrolling?
Homepage slide.
Yeah, but what's the homepage slide where topics are scrolling across? So when you get to that, there's a little, I think it's in the left-hand corner at the bottom, it says read more. You got to click on that, and then it takes you to the page that will describe all of these activities that Jennifer has been talking about. And I just want to make one mention about the adaptive fields that Jennifer mentioned. Susan Murdoch, who works with the Challenger League, they've been raising money now for quite a while to raise money for those adaptive fields to be built at Common Ground Playground at McKeno Park. And that's just such an important thing for us to be able to get that to come to fruition. So I hope you all take a minute to look at that. And I'm very excited about all these activities that we have going on in Mason with our culture of wellness. So I guess if anybody else doesn't have anything else, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spade?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Okay, we are to items 12 and 13. It's ordinance 2023-13, a public hearing and a second reading. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Amending the zoning code and zoning map of the city of Mason, Ohio to provide for the rezoning of approximately 137.419 acres from Warren County R1 Single Family Residential and Warren County I2 General Industrial Manufacturing to City of Mason R1 Single Family Residential and I1 Light Industrial located at Bunnell Road and US 42, former Castle Farm property.
Okay, I have that Kurt's discussing it, but I see Miss Jordy up there.
Just wanted to
Okay.
introduce Jordy
Okay.
Bacon.
Okay, thank
Did I get
you.
it right?
Nailed it.
Hey, Jordy.
So I'm back again. So I'm here. The title pretty much explains it, but this is the approximately 137 acres that council approved to be annexed into the city in January. When properties are annexed into the city, they keep their current zoning, so it's currently zoned for Warren County. So if any of the property owners wanted to develop it, they'd have to be meeting the Warren County regulations as opposed to the City of Mason regulations. So really all we're trying to do is just keep what's there, but have it match City of Mason as opposed to Warren County. So these are the existing conditions. You can see all around it, both in Warren County and Mason, it's zoned industrial and residential. For simplicity's sake, we've sort of broken it up into 3 parcels for you. This southernmost parcel is approximately 12 acres. It's currently zoned Warren County I2, and we're proposing to rezone it to City of Mason I1, so light industrial to light industrial. The middle section is approximately 57 acres. It's currently zoned Warren County R1, and we're proposing to rezone that to City of Mason I1. So that would go from residential to light industrial, but that does match the properties on either side of it and sort of the existing uses on the site. And then the northernmost portion, which is the largest, that's going to be approximately 69 acres. It's zoned Warren County R1 right now, and we are proposing to rezone it to City of Mason R1, so a straight residential for residential. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the project, so we are recommending approval of ordinance 2023-13. I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you, Jordy. I'm going to open the public hearing now at 7:48 and ask if there's anyone in the audience that wanted to come up to speak to this specific ordinance. Yes, sir, please come up and state your name and address, please.
Hello, Mayor, council members. My name is Rex Jager, 2752 South US 42, Lebanon, Ohio, Union Township. My biggest concern, we actually own the property right across from the 69 acres. And being a floodplain, it's zoned residential. Is there anywhere we can see the plans that Mason has for that? Or is it going to be sold to a developer that's going to, I know they have to do the development. Just kind of curious.
I'm going to let Jordy answer this one for you.
So there are no plans to develop the property right now. This is just the zoning so that it meets the City of Mason regulations. And so what you'll see, and I sort of showed on this existing, but on the Warren County on the left and the City of Mason on the right, the blue areas, the striped area on the City of Mason, that's all floodplain. So the practicalities, it's very challenging to develop in a floodplain. So our City of Mason comprehensive plan actually calls for this to be open space. We don't have an open space zoning, but most of our parks and open space are in residential. So that's why we're proposing to rezone it to residential. But yeah, as it stands right now, no plan to develop. It's just the zoning.
Another meeting down the road if you guys wanted to change it and change the.
Yeah, so if anybody down the road did want to build houses on it, they would have to come to Planning Commission with the plan for their project. So showing where the houses are going to be and then showing what the houses will look like. And then Planning Commission would vote on that.
This is letting them.
Can you be sure and get to the mic so we can record it? Thank you.
I was just asking, this is letting them, basically rezoning it as residential. That allows them to do that, build homes over there, once they come back and do the floodplain issue.
It may help to just emphasize, Jordy's right as far as the regulatory. The city happens to own that property.
Yes.
The city has no plans, no intentions, no suitors to sell the property. The only reason that the zoning is coming before us is because the city was finally able to annex this property. So in order to kind of make the regulatory field appropriate, we have to take action to bring it into Mason zone.
Since you own it, you have to have your zoning versus you owning it with someone else's.
Not because we own it, because it's now within.
Well,
City of
within Mason, I'm sorry, yes, yeah, understood.
So this is a kind of a regulatory housekeeping item. It should not be taken to mean that the city has anyone, we've not been approached by anyone to buy it.
Understood.
And we've not had any discussion.
That'll be a whole nother issue down the road, if it happens.
If it happens.
Understood.
Big if.
Okay. Thank you all.
Well, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to come up and speak to this? Yes.
Hi there. My name is Jessica Tate. I live at 2652 South US 42, Lebanon, Ohio, 45036. I've been a resident of that property. I'm now 39 years old. It was my grandparents. So I've watched this area that you all are talking about my entire life. So sentimental to me. I'm just really curious, why now? What has changed that is driving this rezoning 2023, this time period?
And let me make this clear, because it was annexed into the city of Mason, that was just accomplished in January. So it now is within a different legal entity. So instead of being in the township, it's now within the city of Mason. So it needs to conform with city of Mason zoning.
Okay.
The city has owned the property for 20-some years, but has not been in a position to bring it into the city of Mason. That has always been the trajectory. Now we're in a position to annex into the city of Mason. So we did that to meet that aspiration. There is nothing else precipitating this except needing to have the zoning clean.
Okay.
That's why it's happening now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, and appreciate your all service very much. You guys do a great job over here in Mason. So my grandparents founded the Christ Church at Mason. They're buried right across the street. So just thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that so much. Anybody else want to come forth? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Nicole Donna. I just recently purchased the house 2628 South US Route 42 with my fiance Dakin. My biggest thing is I wasn't aware of the annexation from Union Township to the city of Mason. I personally feel that should have been made aware of to all the residents, especially if you're purchasing property in the area. One of the biggest things I liked about my property was, first of all, it was away from everything. I wasn't really expecting Enzo Facto Corporation or the city of Mason to own the property across the street. I thought it was just farm that someone had a lot of property at. So biggest thing is I would like to know how and like who approved the annexation from Union Township to the city of Mason.
Who wants to take that?
I think Kurt can explain the annexation process. I would just underscore that, again, the city purchased the property, a couple decades ago.
2000.
2001.
So it's
All right.
and it was the Judge Castle, who both gifted and purchased or sold the property to the city. And it has been our ambition. The reason it was purchased is that eventually it would need to come into the city of Mason.
So which one was it? Was it gifted or was it purchased? Because those are two different things.
Both.
Both? So it was like certain parts like
Yes.
gifted? Okay, I just wanted clarification on that.
You can see, sorry, just to clarify, you can see the different parcels here, and then the owners, and so some were gifted and some were purchased. But there's a number of parcels within this larger 137 acres.
I gotcha. All right, and if any emergency services are needed, who's going to be providing that for that piece of property? Because now it's, changing.
That property is now within the city of Mason, so it has all the services that any other property within the city of Mason would have.
Just making sure, I just don't want it to be put on to the people of Union Township.
No, quite the opposite, is now no longer the burden of Union Township. It was previously, even though the city physically owned the property. So this cleans those things up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wanted to come forward? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:56 PM, and I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, is there any council discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
this was before I was on council. Were there some restrictions from the castle in regards to how it could be developed? I remember something to the effect that a farming park?
The portion gifted
Yeah,
is named Kathleen Bevan Castle. I think I missed an initial in there, Park. The homestead portion, so I don't know if, Jordy, if you can kind of point to it right there, is to be preserved as park green space and trying to preserve any historical significance.
that answers my question.
Okay, anybody else, any other council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jordy.
you.
We're to item 14, ordinance 2023-28. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Jeff?
Approval of the final plat for Grismer subdivision, Reading Road.
Okay, Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is essentially a dedication plat. It's called the Grismer subdivision. It's dedicating the right-of-way on US 42 that's required by our thoroughfare plan. So this went to the March 7th Planning Commission meeting. And I should say this is located at the US 42 and Snyder Road intersection at the southeast corner there. This dedicates just under 2/10 of an acre, and ordinance 2023-28 is recommended for adoption.
All righty, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
Moved?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
Second?
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Okay, item 15, ordinance 2023-29. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with the Mason Historical Society.
Okay, Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, if you don't mind, I'm going to discuss ordinance 2023-29 through 32. They all involve service agreements. The city has been fortunate enough to partner with a number of nonprofit organizations to provide services that benefit the community, but are not necessarily services that the city provides. This is done through what was once called the matching program, but today has evolved into service agreements. The service agreement program still contains many of the original requirements as the matching program, including contributions from the city based upon every $2 raised by the organization, as well as requirements related to the maximum city support as part of the organization's overall total budget. There are many similarities between all of the service agreements, including each organization commits to serving as a resource to the city of Mason. Most of the organizations do provide us educational outreach material, whether it's through presentations, brochures, or meetings with members of the community or even premier members of the community center. They participate in community events. Many of them also include, as portion of the city's proceeds, they use those towards memberships for their participants or their mentors to the Mason Community Center. The Mason Historical Society has been one of the longest-standing partners of the city. We've done this program with them since 1993. They create, promote, and preserve Mason's history through education, community events, and programming. Couple additional points within their service agreements is they do provide a free membership to the Historical Society for the first year for all new premier members of the Mason Community Center. And they also allow the city to use a great room at the museum for city meetings, trainings, events at no cost. The Warren County Humane Society has been a member or partner with us since 2002. Services provided the Warren County Humane Association are significant to the health and safety of the community. Just a few numbers to give you. In 2022, in the Mason community alone, 119 stray animals were placed in the shelter, and the association provided neutering and return services to 64 cats. They neutered 24 stray cats and reunited 19 pet owners with their lost pet. Next is Safe on Main. They've been a partner with us since 2019. Safe on Main was established in 1984 with the mission of providing resources, safety, and empowerment to domestic violence and sexual assault survivors. They have served over 8,000 individuals each year. They're a valuable resource for our city, and as well as collaborating with the Mason Campus Safety Team and our first responder teams. I'm not going into great detail. Dr. Say here was here with us earlier this evening and spoke about Women Walking West. They've been a partner with us in participation in the program since 2019. Again, Dr. Say has pointed out a lot of the activities and things that they do for our organization, but they also provide 2 community events each year to address diversity and inclusion topics. The events are typically held at the Mason Community Center for Mason residents and community center members. With that, ordinance 2023-29 through 2023-32 are recommended for adoption. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Okay, item 16, ordinance 2023-30. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with the Warren County Humane Association.
Okay, and then Jennifer just discussed that one, so I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth.
Yes. Okay, item 17, ordinance 2023-31. A motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with Safe on Main.
Okay, again, this one's been discussed, so I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 18, item 18, ordinance 2023-32, a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with Women Walking West.
Okay, again, this one was discussed, so a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? A motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Okay. Item 19, ordinance 2023-33. A motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Super Games in an amount not to exceed $55,000 for the kids' entertainment attractions for the 2023 Red Rhythm and Boom event.
Okay, Eric?
Council, I hope everyone's aware of a little event we sometimes throw called Red Rhythm and Boom. That is shifting to high gear last fall. Council authorized amounts for the music entertainment as well as the stage production, which are significant components of that event. Not in a position to announce entertainment yet, and maybe this is a teaser. I hope at our April meeting we'll be able to announce who has been secured for entertainment for that event. Meanwhile, there's still a lot of work going forward on that. The final piece of legislation that I anticipate needing is for Super Games. Super Games fills two major components of the event. One is, and this seems like a constantly escalating battle, is to provide enough amusement for the kids zone without the lines and the crowds, and it seems like the more we do, the more it attracts. But this is a significant component to the event. Again, this year, trying to encourage more activities with shorter wait times to allow more participation by a greater number of kids. A large number of I think a large reason for the crowds we attract to the concert is because of such an energetic kids zone. So the bounce houses, the slides, a 9-hole putt-putt course, carnival games, trackless train are among some of the amenities we expect this year through Super Games. The second thing that Super Games has started to provide for us is coordination with the food vendors. Expect to have 5 additional food vendors this year. Attracting food vendors, securing food vendors is a lot more difficult than I think many people would realize. They do give priority to local food vendors. So Mason food vendors that are interested in participating are prioritized as part of the event. They handle a lot of the coordination, working with city staff as a liaison for that. If there's anyone interested in participating as either a food or non-food vendor, there are applications that are available on the city's website through May 15th. So I encourage folks to participate through that. The ordinance 2023-33 authorizing an agreement with Super Games, an amount not to exceed $55,000 is for both of those, the food vendor coordination as well as the games and activities in the kids zone. A couple of other items that will not require legislation this year, but want to make sure council is aware of, have again secured Rosie's Famous Fireworks for a fireworks show at the end of the event. And then Rumpke have secured waste and recycling services. Council did authorize a new restroom trailer for the city to purchase. That will not be in time for this event, so that may help us control some of those costs in future events, but this includes a number of restrooms as well as the portalets, the waste receptacles, dumpsters. When you throw an event of this size, controlling the waste and debris is a significant event. Both of those have been secured. As I said, I do not expect any other legislation, but what is going on, and I always talk about our instant command system. Members of every department in the city are mobilized, have been mobilized for many months now, but with this ordinance, they are now kicking off into the kind of the high-intensity season, preparing for this event. It requires a great deal of coordination among a great deal of vendors, departments, and that is now into high gear. And as I said, maybe in April we can start promoting that with a band. This ordinance is recommended for adoption.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? A motion to adopt?
So moved?
Okay, any council discussion? Yes, Councilmember Bradburn.
Mayor, Eric, you alluded to wait times at the kids zone. That was one of the complaints I heard. Are we expanding the number of options, or are we making it so you can get through it quicker?
Quicker as the shorter wait times, more. Sometimes we've gone for high-profile kind of cool events, but it may take 15 minutes to participate in that event. Events that kids are able to participate, a shorter line. It may be a shorter event, but to get to more things.
And
That is the best way we hope to help minimize some of the waits.
and if I can, to the parents that bring their kids, and we welcome them, maybe come a little earlier to enjoy it, because it does back up as you get closer to the actual concert time. But well-received, wholly supported, and it's a good time for the kids. And it's a relief to the parents.
Hopefully.
Okay, anyone else? I just want to say that whole restroom trailer thing is the best idea anybody came up with. I don't know who did that, but I think that is awesome. Yes, yes. I say yes. Okay, can I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Okay, item 20, ordinance 2023-34. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Vanderwist of Cincinnati, Inc. for median irrigation and landscaping replacement.
Okay, Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, if you don't mind, I'm going to cover the next two ordinances because they are related to each other. Throughout the 1990s, Mason experienced significant growth, which resulted in many of Mason's main thoroughfares undergoing extensive widening. As part of that widening, raised medians were added that include irrigation and landscaping, primarily as a safety improvements for the roadways, but now they've become a signature aesthetic place within the Mason community. Medians are the number one purpose in strategic safety features for motorists as well as pedestrians. When you think about it, pedestrians trying to cross a four lanes of traffic, the medians provide a safe space. They cross two, they can come to a rest, they could check both ways, and then they could continue on through the next lane. Raised medians also provide additional traffic safety benefits such as the reduction of motor vehicle crashes, decreased delays for motorists, increase in the capacity of roadways, reduction in vehicle speeds on the roadways, and primarily the reduction of head-on collisions from drivers traveling in opposite directions. They also provide additional roadway lighting and supplemental signage, which contributes to the safety of the roadways as well. The Federal Highway Administration strongly encourages the use of raised medians. Many of our existing medians are now 20 years and older. The plantings have become overgrown, many are dying, and the irrigation system in the medians are failing. You can see this most evidently during the summer month, and it's not uncommon to see malfunctioning sprinkler heads that cause excessive water to pool in the roadway or spray into traffic. Last year, the city established a program to begin a phased approach to maintenance and the replacement of the irrigation system in the raised medians. Last year, we replaced medians, irrigation systems and landscaping along Mason Montgomery Road between Socialville Foster's Road and Tylersville Road. Staff would like to continue the program again this year, replacing median irrigation systems along Tylersville Road between US 42 and Mason Montgomery Road. Ordinance 2023-34 and 2023-35 are recommended. What we did last year, what we found out is we were having trouble getting the work done. And so we asked council to approve two different contracts, and then anytime we could group a couple of medians to get done, we went to both contractors, asked them for a quote, and whichever one was the most competitive is the vendor we used, or available. If you recall last year, most of the time we had difficulty finding people to do the work. So we're again asking for council to take that direction with us by approving these two ordinances. We don't expect the total cost for any, between the two contracts to exceed $125,000. The 2023 budget does include $125,000 for this work. With that, ordinance 2023-34 and 35 are recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
Second?
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey.
Yes.
Okay, item 21, ordinance 2023-35. A motion to read by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Brightview Landscape Services for median irrigation and landscaping replacement.
Okay, Jennifer has discussed this, so I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Mayor Spath.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Okay, item 22, ordinance 2023-36. I need a motion to read by title only, please. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Barrett Paving Materials, Inc. for the 2023 street maintenance program in the amount of $2,011,658.
Okay, Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. If I could, I'd like to talk about the next 5 ordinances together. They're all related to the city's maintenance program, street maintenance program. The first ordinance is for the asphalt portion of the program. We, this year, broke it out again between the asphalt work and the concrete work. We've had good luck with that the last couple of years. That allows us to get the concrete contractor going ahead of the asphalt so that we can, once the curbs are replaced, we can mill the streets and have a better product at the end of the year. The first contract was, we had 3 bidders for the asphalt portion of the project. On March 7th, we opened bids. Barrett Paving was the low bidder, and this year we are recommending both the base and the alternate program for the asphalt and the concrete work. For the concrete work, Alita Construction was the low bidder, and that concrete work also includes our sidewalk program. There was $100,000 in the budget this year for the sidewalk program, and that would continue work over in Hillary Lane, Maplewood Lane, Bay Meadows, and Magican Place. The crack seal and crack fill program is a critical part of our project. This is important to keep water from going down to the base asphalt, and especially with weather like we've recently had, 70-degree weather down to 20-degree weather. When you get moisture down in those cracks, that's what causes potholes and causes the pavement to break apart. So some of the best money that we can spend is on the crack seal and crack fill program. Though residents often don't like the look of the road, it actually does protect the road and protect our investment in the roadway. So the crack seal is just that, sealing the cracks. The crack fill is a mastic product that actually helps fix some of the dips that occur in some of the larger cracks, and it helps with the rideability of the project, or of the roadway. As Jennifer mentioned with the irrigation, we had some similar issues with crack seal contractors, and so this year we had some difficulty, but Skodler Construction, they're actually a subsidiary of American Pavements, they gave us the best price on the crack sealing work, and JA Construction, who had been doing the crack seal, still was able to maintain their state bid pricing for the mastic, but did not have staff available to do that for the crack seal portion of the program. And then with the striping program, that's where we retrace all of the pavement markings on the streets that have pavement markings throughout the city. On this one, again, is a new contractor for us. First Star Safety was a low bidder. They're new to the pavement marking or the retracing work, but they do a lot of the maintenance of traffic type work for some of our larger construction projects. So we're familiar with them, and I think they'll do a fine job this year. So with that, the staff is recommending a program of just over $3.5 million this year with for the street maintenance program. As I mentioned, it includes $100,000 for sidewalk, $100,000 for striping. There is also included in front of the Tower Park development. We'd like to resurface that portion of Tylersville Road with that project, and $150,000 approximately of that would be reimbursed to us by the developer of the Tower Park project, and that'll keep from having a joint in the middle of the road from their work and our work, and better coordinate that for a final product that'll be much better. And then there is some contingency funds in the program from the set-aside, which the set-aside is currently at about $9 million, and that is similar to what we do for our fleet vehicles, where we have some money set aside for when we do get to larger streets like Mason Montgomery Road out in front of the building here. Streets like that could take up our entire program when we get to those, so the set-aside funds are to be used for that in the future. So with that, ordinance 2023-36 through 40 are recommended for adoption. We did have an emergency clause on ordinance 37 for the concrete maintenance program. Other than that, all the rest are just the normal clauses on the ordinances. I'll answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Spath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Okay, item 23, ordinance 2023-37. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing
I'm sorry, go ahead.
the city manager to enter into a contract with Adlita, Inc. for the 2023 concrete maintenance program in the amount of $1,238,339 and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that, I was getting ahead of myself. Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion to adopt.
Moved?
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spath.
Yes. Item 24, ordinance 2023-38. A motion to read by title only.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Scottler Construction, Inc. for crack seal in the amount of $150,000.
Okay, and again, this one's been discussed, so I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Okay, item 25, ordinance 2023-39. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Jeff.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with J&A Construction, Inc. for mastic in the amount of $50,000.
Okay, again, we've discussed this one, so I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
Second.
Any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Okay, item 26, ordinance 2023-40. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Jeff.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with First Star Safety LLC in the amount of $100,000 for the 2023 street striping program.
Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt. Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Okay, item 27, ordinance 2023-41. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Integrated Global Services in an amount not to exceed $95,000 to apply high-velocity thermal metal spray coating to paddles for the sludge dryer at the water reclamation plant.
Okay, Kurt.
This isn't nearly as exciting as the street program, I know, but this is a critical piece of infrastructure for us. The dryer is what takes our sludge and dries it out, and actually to the point where local farmers will take the sludge, put it on their fields, and we don't have to pay to haul it off. So compared with our old plant from 15 years ago, this saves us a considerable amount of money on an annual basis. This has been in operation for 15 years and needs some work on it. So it's gonna, this work is to reestablish the metal tabs on it that help to agitate the sludge and dry it out, and then the coating on the inside. The welding portion of the project is $18,000 and is not part of this ordinance. The ordinance is for the spray coating on the inside. For their quote was $85,000. We have included $10,000 for contingency because in order to do this, we have to take the dryer out of service, completely wash it off. They basically have to get inside it with a contained apparatus and clean it out so that they can actually work on it. So based on what they've seen, this is their best guess, but there is some contingency funds in case they find more during their evaluation. The annual budget does have $250,000 in it for repair and maintenance like this at the plant, and ordinance 23-41 is recommended for adoption, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
So
Moved.
moved.
Second?
Any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Okay, we're to item 28, which is the ordinance 2023-42. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Amending Chapter 121 of the Mason Codified Ordinances.
All right, Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance that has been a topic of discussion with council for several months now. And this process began last September when the mayor established an ad hoc rules committee. It was tasked with evaluating updates to what's known as Chapter 121, which is in your codified ordinances and kind of outlines the existing excuse me, rules of city council as far as meetings, procedures. That section had not been substantially modified since the 1970s. And so the first kind of order of business for this ad hoc committee was to go through and review that, update it to reflect both current law, because there were several legal changes since that time that outdated sections of it, as well as current practice. So things like the reality of telephones and email could be incorporated into the rules and procedures. The second effort of that committee was then to, in addition to updating existing language, was to add a section. The committee is interested in a code of conduct to be included to provide a framework for council members for best practices and decorum in both conducting meetings and how you conducted yourself. Staff researched a number of examples from other municipalities. I would say that the city of Cincinnati their council had a code of conduct that had recently been updated. That was used as, I think, the foundation, is what I would call it, for the recommended code. And then additional sections from other municipalities where we noticed overlap or some consistency in conduct type of things Those were then pulled together for the committee's review. Following the committee met several times to review and consider those different items, a work session was then held in January where all of council had the opportunity to discuss and to review the draft code of conduct and updated rules and provide feedback. From that feedback, the ad hoc committee then met again, made some modifications based on the feedback received from council members, and updated that draft. That draft, about in mid-February, was then distributed to all of council for any additional input, which brings us up to the current, that revised draft that had been distributed to council. The committee met and recommended moving forward with that to both update the existing code to reflect current law and practices, as well as to add a council code of conduct of best practices. Those are included now with ordinance 2023-42, which would amend chapter 121 of your codified ordinances to accomplish both of those. The ad hoc rules committee does recommend adoption of this ordinance.
All right, thank you, Eric. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
Mayor.
I'm sorry, yes.
I'm opposed to adoption after the first reading.
Okay, so what do I do?
You may want to do a roll call vote, just so we can make, it takes 5 affirmative votes to pass that motion, so it would probably be appropriate to do a roll call so we can make sure we have an accurate vote.
So the motion, repeat the motion then? Or-
No,
No.
the motion was fine. Instead of just doing a voice vote like we typically do, because we know at least one person would like to vote no, I think it would be appropriate to just call the roll.
But on.
On the same motion, to suspend the rule to allow for adoption after one reading.
I want to make sure I'm not confused here. I know, but we are, so we're going to vote, I'm sorry, Councilmember Grossman, say it again, what you wanted to do. You wanted
The
to,
motion was to suspend the rule and adopt after first reading. So, and then you asked all in favor, and you asked all any opposed, and so I'm opposed to that. So now the law director's recommending we do a voice or a roll call.
of how many are in favor?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all, okay, because I was going to get mixed up on that. Okay.
Member Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spade?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
No.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
No.
Okay, it did receive the required 5 affirmative votes, so you can proceed on.
Now I can do the motion to adopt. Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, now any council discussion? Yes, Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes, as I went through it after I got the, revised, whatever, I actually thought after our last work session that we were going to have another opportunity to look at this in a work session setting, but I guess not. I guess we're going to look at it here. Really don't know, since there's not numbers on the pages. Let's see. Under 121.02, Rules of Council, C talks about ordinances, resolutions on an agenda, and then it talks about special meeting. I would ask a question of the law director. Is that prohibited by our charter?
Which one, what did you mention?
Well, that's why I would have liked to have another work session, but actually one.
Page in our packet.
There's, huh?
What page is it in our packet?
There's no,
In our packet.
Yeah, if you're on the PDF that was
Yes.
sent out, I think it's page 78 of 90.
okay. C, yes. So my question is, I remember the charter allows for a special meeting.
It does.
Is there anything that prohibits a special meeting having something added to the agenda in the charter?
This is consistent with the charter.
That's
that-
consistent with the charter?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is E, under that. It says, "No person other than a member of council may be heard at any council meeting except as an appointed time for citizen participation as listed on the agenda." I think council should have the opportunity to hear from the public, and the public should have the opportunity to hear from council. But just to go ahead and set it on the agenda and say that's the only time you're going to speak, I don't think that's right. This is me. I got some more, okay? I don't know, I see this thing on a rotating basis of calling of the roll. I seem to remember years ago, it used to be whoever first or seconded, we were the first persons to go ahead and do when the roll is called as far as adoption. Is there any reason that we can't let the clerk decide what's easiest for them?
This is not a change. That's
It's not?
No, that's always.
I'm being educated here, okay.
Yeah.
Third party, we'll go down to all council members shall. It's under 12103. It's 1, recognize the obligation of all elected officials not to attempt to privately interfere with quasi-judicial proceedings. Could you explain that to me, boards and commissions? What's quasi-official?
I can. I just want to make sure. C2. Oh, yeah. This is essentially saying that as council members, you have to remember your role as a council member, and that we do have quasi-judicial proceedings of boards and commissions. Generally, that's talking about like Board of Zoning Appeals and potentially Planning Commission under certain circumstances. And I think the point of this is that council has members on, well, at least on Planning Commission. And I think the point of this is you, as council members, you should not go to a Board of Zoning Appeals, I'm going to use that as an example, and speak as if you, as a council member. And again, I'll just stick with that example, at a Board of Zoning Appeals. That's a quasi-judicial hearing. As a resident, you know, if, for example, if you're the neighbor of somebody who's requested a variance, you should be permitted to appear and speak like any other person. But I think what this is saying is you should not, as a council member, show up to interfere at Board of Zoning Appeals or Planning Commission. You shouldn't go in and say, I'm on council and this is what we want you to do.
Understand. Does that include committee meetings?
Committee, like council committee meetings? I'm not sure that this particular rule would address committee meetings. I can tell you it's a different issue with committee meetings. Your council committees are generally made up of 3 council members. If a 4th council member were to appear at a committee meeting to speak and to participate in that, that could be seen as a sunshine law violation, because you've essentially converted what was noticed as a committee meeting into a full council meeting, because you would have a majority of the full council there. I don't think that's what this rule was meant to address.
Okay, and then when we get into Section 3, elected officials' conduct with the public, I guess what's the mechanism for enforcement? No, I shouldn't say enforcement, a complaint as far as not following public comments outside of the council meeting.
Is that a question
Yeah,
for me? I guess I'm not sure what you mean by discussion outside of a council meeting.
Well, this outside of public meetings has some discussion that says the council member has a right to state their opinion and so on, but he must always clarify that he's not speaking on behalf of council unless authorized by council to do that.
Right.
Okay. And it says this policy applies to interactions with individual community members as well as the media. So I guess, okay, here's his rules of conduct. What is the mechanism for enforcement?
Oh, the mechanism for enforcement of this? Well, the mechanism of enforcement for this or any other rule or provision in really all of Chapter 121 is, these are council's rules, so they are up to council to take any action to enforce them. It could be it could be a discussion at a public meeting. It could be a resolution of censure that someone has violated a rule, all the way up to the charter provides the basis for removal from council. One of the bases in the charter for removal is, and I can't remember the exact language off the top of my head, but it's essentially, I think it says, it's either repeated or, willful and maybe repeated violations of the council rules. Again, I don't have it right in front of me, but so I guess that's what I would say is they are council's rules, so they're up to council to enforce, and it could be anything from a public discussion on it all the way up to if you think it rises to the level of a violation for removal.
And my last item is under financial responsibility. I also agree everybody should pay your taxes. So taxes can be income, taxes can be per business tax, so on and so forth. So I guess it's like up to the individual that makes the complaint to say you haven't done this as an elected official. Therefore, we're going to do blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, really same answer. I mean, if you're aware of somebody violating a particular rule in Chapter 121, it's the same concept. It would be up to council to choose how it wants to proceed, anywhere from, like I said, the lowest level all the way up to if you feel it rises to the level for removal. They're council's rules to be enforced, and really any action to enforce them is by council.
That's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other comments that they want to make here? Yes, Councilmember Grossman.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Mike's not on. Let me start over. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. I started by stating I was disappointed that we didn't have a follow-up work session. And it was indicated to us in our previous work session in January that we would, sorry, Siri is very active tonight. In our previous work session, we discussed, it got late. We were talking for 2 hours on the procedural aspect of Chapter 121. And the introduction of the Code of Conduct was largely copy and pasted from Cincinnati's Code of Conduct, which we understand is the case. And there were some mild adaptations made to the City of Mason. But as a group, in the group setting, we didn't have time to discuss the Code of Conduct, which is kind of a whole different animal. So one of the things I asked for in the work session was to provide separate pieces of legislation, because so much of what Chapter 121 is procedural, and then the Section 121.03, which is the Code of Conduct, is much more ambiguous. It's not procedural in nature. And so I wanted to point that out, and I would like it if we had another discussion in a work session. But let's go back to Section 121.02, and specifically on Section B, Line 3. There's, and Mr. Bradburn asked about this earlier, we know that Section 4.02 of our charter allows council members to add agenda items for any regular or special meeting. But reference to a special meeting is omitted in these lines. And one of the things I asked for is that we insert the term special meetings. And then I also asked that the ad hoc committee add language addressing a procedure for agenda items to be added to a special meeting, because we didn't really have a good practice of that previously. And that didn't occur. So I was disappointed that did not take place. But for the most part, I was okay and thankful for the other changes that the ad hoc committee made based on the feedback in our work session. We did get an email asking us if we had any more feedback, but I was just certain that that email referred to what we had already discussed, not the code of conduct, because we were planning on having another work session, so I thought. So my biggest problem with the code of conduct is similar to my complaint with the original revisions in Chapter 121. And if you remember early in there, and you guys took this out, which I was thankful for, there was a section about following the rules in the spirit of Robert's rules, and then another clause was added by the committee to give the chair the option to dispense with the rules at will. And those aren't the exact words, but that's the gist of it. Well, my impression of the code of conduct is similar. It is ambiguous in nature. So while it says a lot of nice things about how we should treat each other and things that we should do if we have questions or concerns about ethics or other things, it also has ambiguous language about what happens in the case of the rules being violated, and there isn't a clear criteria set for that. Another concern I have is Cincinnati's city structure is different from ours. Their mayor is elected by the public directly, where our mayor is elected differently by the body of 7 in the council. And so it's not a strong mayor position. So I felt like, as I looked at that this code of conduct was largely designed for a mayor who has a different role and some different responsibilities in that jurisdiction. So I think a work session is in order for more work on that. Section 1.03, Section 1B, I just wrote a few notes. It's unclear what criteria must be met to warrant a censure other than a majority vote. I feel like overall, while the ambiguity, let's go back to the ambiguity, the document celebrates people having differing opinions, but then it's not clear on what happens if your opinions are different and you offend your colleagues, or your colleagues in the majority are not happy with that. And it seems to me that it would be possible to censure someone in that case, or based on gossip or hearsay, because it doesn't require evidence to be set forth or anything like that in procedures. So I'm just checking my notes. Sorry, sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. I just think it could be, the entire thing could be used in ways that limit free speech and the ability of all members to represent their constituents, and free from fear of retaliation. Being able to raise questions, but then not living under the shadow of being censured or punished or disciplined if you do have a differing viewpoint. We had a situation recently where there was some hearsay and gossip about a certain matter, and I didn't think it was dealt with fairly, and I didn't think that the council members that were speaking in their own defense were listened to, and that the decision made was based on hearsay and gossip. And so I feel a little gun shy about supporting this prior to another work session where we can really think critically about it and have some frank discussions about it. So I'd like to motion that we table this just until we can discuss in a work session over the next month prior to the April meeting, so that all of council can discuss just the code of conduct, and then we can come back in April with 2 pieces of legislation. So the motion is to table until we can discuss it as a group in a work session in the next month prior to the April 13th meeting. So I'm trying to give you a clear deadline or clear time frame. I don't want to table it indefinitely and be difficult. I just think it needs more work. Good policy should not be ambiguous.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, do we just go to roll call? Okay, we'll just have roll call on that then. This is a motion to table.
Mayor Spade?
No.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
No.
Councilmember Chance?
No.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
No.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
No.
Okay, are you finished with all
I
your?
do have another follow-up question. We talked about I'm not exactly sure where it is, guys. The third party, where it talks about, I'm sorry, I lost my place. I'd like some clarification on that, where it discusses, and maybe this is with the quasi-judicial section, Jeff, maybe you can help me out. And could a council member be in trouble for discussing anything outside of a committee? I thought that the language was ambiguous enough that if a resident asked me a question about something another committee is discussing, would that be, or could that be considered interference?
So
I'm really troubled by this ambiguous
I
language.
understand. The reason I'm hesitating is because, as the rules say, it's up to council to enforce the rules. So it's really up to council to decide what constitutes a violation or not. Based on what if you were asking my opinion, I would think that that is not what that rule was meant to address. If you were speaking to the public about a topic that another committee was working on, I don't believe that's what, I think if we're talking about the same section. This one?
Thanks, guys.
Right. It's at page 81 on the document.
It's 3B, section 2.
Right. And for what it's worth, maybe it's just helpful for those that can't get to that page right away. What that section says is, council acts as a body and speaks as individuals. Council members must ensure that in expressing their own opinions, they do not mislead any listener into believing that their individual opinion is that of the entire council, unless the council has taken a vote on that issue and the council member's opinion is the same as the decision made by council. A council member has the right to state a personal opinion and has the right to indicate that they are stating such as a member of council, but must always clarify that they are not speaking on behalf of the city or the council unless authorized by council to do so. Is that?
Yeah, and we've actually had a situation recently where that something similar occurred and council members were, treated horribly, in my opinion, because someone from the public misconstrued what she thought they said, I guess. I don't know. It was like, it was basically based on hearsay. And I thought, oh my gosh, well, I guess if the majority wants to enforce it a certain way, and then what is the criteria for identifying that something is your own opinion? If you put it on your Facebook page, is that sufficient? Or do you have to put a disclaimer statement every single time you make a public statement? I'm just curious because I think the way the rules are enforced depends on what the majority wants to do at the time because of the ambiguous language. And I don't think that's good public policy. And
Sorry, but Councilmember Grossman, you've come to the end of your 10-minute allotted time.
Okay, does anybody have any other?
Mayor?
Yes.
This is just saying that we cannot go out in public and say, this is the thought of all of council, when all of council did not vote. We are just saying, this is my opinion, and not all of council's, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yes, essentially, that's what this says, that a council member has the right to a personal opinion, but they should indicate that they're saying that this is my opinion. but
Right, it's
may
my
not be
opinion,
that
which
of
is
everyone.
right. I mean, we shouldn't be going out
I
in
think
public and talking about.
At its essence, it goes to the point that you are one of 7.
Right.
And you need to be cognizant of that when you discuss issues. You should not mislead the public that your particular position on something is the position of the body, unless, of course, the body has already voted on it and determined that position.
Okay, I completely agree with you. Thank you.
Are you finished? Yes. Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, I'm just going to say this. We did have a work session on January 23rd, and we were there for a couple hours, and we didn't get to talk about the code of conduct as long as we would have liked. But the next day, Eric sent an email out to all the council members to submit additional feedback after this work session. And I have to say thank you to Councilmember Bradburn, because you actually did submit feedback from that request. And so our committee met again on February 7th to evaluate all the feedback from the work session and any additional submitted feedback from council members and determine final changes. And from that meeting on February 7th, the revised draft was distributed on February 15th by Eric Hansen, our city manager. And in that email, if anybody read it, said that you all were told to expect it to be on the March meeting for a vote. So everyone was aware that we were going to be voting for this at the March meeting. So I do get a little impatient with always the comments that there's not enough time or that we didn't get to talk about it more. I'm always about the most efficient use of staff time and council time. And I think we've had almost an entire month to submit things and say we want to do something else with this before it comes on the meeting today, and that didn't happen by anybody else on this council. And I also would like to remind you, Councilmember Grossman, you were actually the one who gave us the code of conduct from the city of Cincinnati and asked this committee to submit, consider that in these rules. So, and we did that, and then we did incorporate that. So I'm all for moving forward with this and voting on this tonight and putting these rules in place because I think they're necessary. Is there anybody else that wants to make any comments? Yes.
Mayor, I did submit my suggestions, and my two comments were that nothing in these rules would prohibit freedom of speech or freedom of assembly. And that was not put in these rules. And that's in the Constitution of the United States. But obviously, some people don't think that's important. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
doesn't the Constitution of the United States trump our charter? Yes, the answer is yes. Thank you.
So it trumps these rules.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes,
Yeah, I'd
Councilmember.
make a comment on Councilmember Bradburn's. When I read the comments that you sent, that's not how I read that. I did not, maybe I misunderstood. I didn't read that as you wanted that included. I
did.
thought that was a comment about what we were doing. But regardless, I don't think it needs to be stipulated. It's the law of our nation, and we will never do anything on this council, as far as I'm concerned, that would violate that or go against it. So I don't see that it's necessary to change it.
Yes.
Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that it was represented to us at the first meeting that we would have a follow-up meeting on the code of conduct. And yes, I did submit that to give you some ideas, but I didn't expect the entire document to be copy and pasted. But I would have appreciated the opportunity to meet again as a group of 7. That was the way it was represented to us. And the follow-up email from your second committee meeting simply made all the determinations. So yes, we knew it was coming to the agenda, but there was nothing we could do at that point. You'd already decided to bring it forth for legislation. So I just wanted to express my disappointment about that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, let's have a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak. No.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
No.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth.
Yes. Okay, we're to item 29, ordinance 2023-43. A motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Jeff.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a lifeguard and lifeguard supervision agreement with Cincinnati Pool Management for the Mason Community Center and Mason Municipal Aquatic Center.
Okay, Jennifer?
Yeah, Mayor, members of council, several years after we opened the community center, we began to struggle for adequate lifeguard and lifeguard staffing at both the community center and the former Louise Pool. The Employee Relations Committee, as well as Legal Counsel, recommended that the city contract out lifeguard services and supervision at both these facilities. A lot of our challenges were also heightened by the fact of the Affordable Care Act passing and that it had a stipulation on the number of part-time hours our employees could work. So in 2013, City Council authorized our first contract with Swim Safe Pool Management to provide these services, again, at both the community center and the Louise Municipal Pool. That was for a 5-year contract. In the fall of 2008, at the expiration of that 5-year contract, we rebid with 2 companies submitting proposals, Cincinnati Pool Management and Swim Safe Pool Management. These are basically the primary providers of these services in this region. There really isn't any others to the scale that we would need it. Staff ultimately changed our contract. We began moving forward with Cincinnati Pool Management, who's held the contract for the past 5 years. That contract expires in April. We recently solicited bids with between Cincinnati Pool Management and Swim Safe, asking them for proposals. The proposals this time included both the community center as well as the aquatic center, both the new outdoor pool and the 50-meter enclosed facility. Swim Safe provided a proposal that only included the aquatic center. The Cincinnati Pool Management provided a proposal for both the facilities. Their proposal fee for the aquatic center is $435,522 on an annual basis. And for the community center, it is $551,700 for the 2023-24 contract year, for a total of $987,222. That's for both aquatics facilities, all pools, for that 12-month period. This is a 5% increase from the current contract year for the community center and a 5% decrease for the aquatic center's current contract year. The decrease is really a result of the fact that we had 1 year to really get an understanding of pool operations and what hours it would be open and when it would be closed. And we found out that we didn't need all the lifeguarding services that we had contracted with them this past year. Staff has experience with both companies. Cincinnati Pool is the lowest bid of the 2 and can do both the aquatic center and the community center. Ordinance 2023 authorizes the city manager to enter in a contract with Cincinnati Pool Management with the option, it's a 1-year contract with the option to renew up to 4 years with a 2% increase each year. In addition, the contract does provide the city the opportunity to purchase necessary chemicals for the pump rooms at a very competitive price. Ordinance 2023-43 is recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Yes. Anyone opposed? Okay. I'm sorry, what? A motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I just had a quick question for clarification. That it's the last sentence there. Additional guard services outside the scope of the contract are outlined at $25 per lifeguard and $30 per lifeguard supervisor. What does that mean exactly?
So if we end up would host a special event out there that may have not been covered in this contract language, or maybe we have a rental of the facility and we need lifeguards as part of the rental, that would be outside this contract. And we would charge, obviously we would charge the rental company or whoever was running it from us to reimburse us for those expenses. But we did need an hourly rate included in it.
That's the hourly rate. Okay, Thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spade?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, we're to item 30, overview and full council discussion of proposed Chapter 125 real property transaction disclosures. Okay, I just want to give just a real brief overview, and then I'll pass it on for the council discussion, just so everyone in the audience is up to speed of what's going on. So a majority of council repealed Chapter 125 of the codified ordinances on August 8th, 2022. after the charter amendment was passed in 2021 addressing real estate transactions. And we had used that amendment a couple different times during the year in 2022. So we felt that it was okay to go ahead and consider repealing the part of it in the codified ordinances. So on September 20th, 2022, Councilmember Grossman had asked that these two items that you see similar to tonight, items 30 and 31, she had asked for those to be put on the agenda on September 20th. And at that time, a majority of council voted to remove those items since Chapter 125 had already been repealed by council. Councilmember Grossman then asked for a work session to discuss her amendments that she wanted to add to Chapter 125. Well, since then, I had repeatedly requested to Councilmember Grossman that she generate a new original document in a final format versus a working or brainstorming document to fully represent the language she would recommend for adoption. And I made this request because essentially Chapter 125 was repealed and it did not exist anymore. I asked for the final format to make efficient use of staff time and council time, again, before I called a work session on that topic. And I want to say I even emailed Councilmember Grossman as recently as February 20th while I was on vacation in Jamaica, again asking for a final version of her recommendations before I engaged the rest of council in a work session. She did not provide this original document so that I could engage council in a work session, and Councilmember Grossman went ahead and asked our city manager to put these two items back on the agenda for tonight. And these are her original amendments to the repealed Chapter 125. And I just want to remind all of council that the standard practice for discussing any item on the council agenda is during the council discussion portion of adopting or not adopting an ordinance or resolution. That discussion will occur next month after we have the second reading of this ordinance. So then I just want to ask Jeff, if you can just give, since there is such a long history of Chapter 125, can you just briefly tell us the difference like between the Chapter 125 council adopted back in 2018 after an ad hoc committee made the recommendations, and then what the charter amendment was that was adopted in 2021 before we allow for this overall discussion?
Okay. Sure. So I think what you're asking is, council, like as you mentioned, in 2018, and then it was modified in 2019, council did adopt what was known as Chapter 125 of your codified ordinances related to, excuse me, real property transaction disclosures. And essentially the way that original version, or I guess what I'm going to call let's call it the pre-charter amendment version, if that's fair. That provision stated what the purpose of the ordinance was. It provided for how it would work, what the general requirements were. It actually, as a result, my recollection is, as a result of the ad hoc committee, the recommendation was that for the provisions of Chapter 125 to apply, it was not automatic, is I guess what I'm getting at. It could be invoked by a minority of 3 members of council. So essentially, you had Chapter 125. It did not come into play unless at least 3 members of council turned it on, to sort of simplify that. And once it was invoked that way, then there was a process that was spelled out of what types of information had to be disclosed, both on behalf of council members, staff members, and the other party to the real estate transaction. There was also a provision that at any point during that process, a supermajority of council, meaning 5 members of council, could essentially turn off the process of of the disclosures, or modify them, or suspend some of them, or waive some of them, or make any changes to it. So it took 3 to start it, and it could take, with 5 votes, you could essentially stop it. The committee's point there was that if it took 3 to turn it on, but 5 to turn it off, that means one of the original 3 would have had to change his or her mind that it was necessary. So, you know, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially it said what the seller of the property would have to disclose, what types of information had to be disclosed. It provided some requirements about, in the ordinance that would ultimately come to council authorizing the purchase or sale of property, what information had to be included in that ordinance, some other procedural requirements for council. It listed some exemptions there are times where the city acquires property that really are not what we would think of as like traditional arm's length deals, where sometimes people donate property to the city, sometimes we're acquiring property as part of a roadway project, and you recognize that those instances, the process may not be appropriate. And finally, it added a section that said, if in the future council wanted to make any amendments to Chapter 125, that could only be done after a public hearing, which is not the usual process for most pieces of legislation. So this was an extra layer of protection, I would call it, to make any changes. So that's a very brief summary of pre-charter amendment Chapter 125. Then, as you said, in November of 21, the voters adopted a charter amendment. That provision, actually, I will just read because it's easier to read it than it'll take me longer to summarize it. That section essentially said that to ensure transparency and prevent conflicts of interest, council members and all relevant city staff shall certify in writing disclosures of actual and potential conflicts of interest involving any real estate transactions with the city prior to council vote on said transactions. This requirement does not apply to, and actually it's the same list of exemptions from Chapter 125. So that was Chapter 125, and then the charter amendment was adopted, approved by the voters.
Okay, thank you. So there's an overview, so I'll just ask if there's anybody on council here that wanted to discuss this. Yes.
This is a question for Jeff. Can you explain, okay, so you've explained the major changes, that it's the checklist of things that would be identified in disclosure, and that it's always turned on, because the charter amendment has turned it on.
Yes.
Whatever enabling legislation we have, if we have some, and right now we don't have any enabling legislation because that was repealed, but the difference between the charter and the old Chapter 125 is that the charter turned it on all the time.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So council didn't want this checklist turned on all the time, so it repealed the checklist. I have another question, that there was a major change based on feedback from council. One was about timing of when the disclosure process could take place. Could you explain that?
A major change in,
Well,
which version am I talking?
So in the second version, this version as amended,
Post.
yes,
Charter
the post-charter amendment, there was a complaint with Chapter 125 that it was not exactly clear when the disclosure process had to take place, so we were doing it before we spoke about anything. So the amended version, the post-charter version, and the charter language is such that the disclosure takes place prior to council action, which is council voting. So I wanted to point that out,
Yes.
to address that issue, which I thought was a legitimate issue, and that was good feedback that we got from council. And then there's the other thing, and if you could explain this, this was another point of feedback that we got that was actually offered by Vice Mayor Nelson. She was expressing some concern about what I called third-party beneficiaries. So let's say the transaction's happening between the city and another entity, but the other entity plans to transfer it to another beneficiary. Could you explain that language that we inserted there?
Yes, so I think what you're, it's a few places, but essentially in 125.01, the proposed new version, I guess I would explain it like this. Prior to the charter amendment, in the old Chapter 125, the whole process applied to transactions between the city and a buyer or a seller of property. And those were the only two parties that had any requirements. What's being proposed adds that it's between anything involving the city and or the transfer of public funds to any nonprofit or for-profit corporation for the purpose of property acquisition. That's one place. And that it also says, such disclosure process shall include certain disclosures by sellers, buyers, council members, identified city employees and staff, and, this is new, would be new, intended third-party beneficiaries or recipients of public funds. So I believe that's the part you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. And I don't know, could we get it up on the screen? Or I have a hard copy. I just wanted to show that it's not a brainstorming document, but it is word processed, and it highlights the amendments in a different colored font. It's red in our packet, it's blue on my hard copy. So it's not really a brainstorming document. It is close to a final document. And then we were given in September the complete clean document without the word processing notes to show what exactly was amended. And then, the other thing I wanted to bring up, we talked about my disappointment over the work session issue, and the mayor is not willing to call one on this topic without me submitting an entirely new document, which I don't think needs to be done. But I explained to the mayor in my letters to her, we went back and forth in some emails, that pursuant to Charter Section 4.02, any member of council can bring forth legislation. It doesn't have to be pre-approved by the mayor, but she does have the unilateral authority to call a work session on this topic. She just does not want to, because I'm not rewriting it and recreating something new, because I think that what we need to do is use what we were working with, but as amended to reflect the charter and the feedback that council members were given. So thank you for this opportunity to go over this, and I look forward to our next meeting when we can have a second reading and further discussion.
Okay, does anyone else want to make a comment or discussion? Nope. Okay, we will be moving on then to item 31, which is ordinance 2023-44, first reading. And I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Adopting Chapter 125 of the codified ordinances of the City of Mason regarding real property transaction disclosures.
All right, thank you. We're on to item 32, which is the committee reports. Does anybody have a committee report? Yes, Councilmember Hackey.
Thank you, Mayor. So as part of the Safety Committee, we had meetings, some discussion last year with the fire chief regarding their strategic plan and hiring an outside consultant. That consultant is in town now. They had a meeting this morning for several members of staff to just kind of give us an overview of the process. One of the consultants is the former fire chief from the Air Force Academy, so he and I became immediate best friends since I was stationed out in Colorado for 7 years, and my son was actually born on the academy. So anyway, that's really not pertinent, but I thought I would share that. So what's happening is this team is working with our fire department to start to form the strategic plan to work not only with the fire department, but with staff, with residents, and to do a very thorough job of making sure that we're set for the long term with our fire department. So I'm very excited about that process and looking forward to seeing them getting through it. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have a committee report? Yes.
Yes, Council and Mayor, thank you very briefly. Park Board met, and this actually came from our January meeting, which I think I overlooked and didn't ask Council about this, but this is a safety committee question, and that was a desire for MYO to have AEDs available at all ball fields. So I wanted to bring that forth. I meant to at our last meeting and forgot. At our meeting just this past Thursday, we discussed potential updates of the 2017 Parks Master Plan for Heritage Oak Park. So that was our primary focus. And so, Council, I invite you to get a hard copy or a digital copy of this and solicit feedback from your friends and family on Heritage Oak Park. The Park Advisory Board will be meeting in April with Lynn from Kleiningers to brainstorm ideas for any potential updates there. And we were encouraged to do that as well as Park Advisory Board members. Mason had 4 swimmers attend the Special Olympics in Bowling Green, which was exciting. And another update was that McKeno Park continues to progress. The McKeno Park expansion bids are ongoing, and there were some updates with that. And the MYO season is underway. They are commencing with all of that fun baseball stuff. So that's all I have from Park Advisory Board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Where does anyone get a copy of that map or whatever, or how do they do that?
Well, Chrissy Avery sent it to the Park Advisory Board members in an email, the digital copy. So I will.
I mean, if a citizen wants to get it, how they
They can contact the city.
contact and get it that way? Okay. All right, anybody else have a committee report?
Mayor?
Yes.
The Veterans Board met, and the Veterans Memorial, as most of you know by now, is kind of undergoing a facelift where we're doing a lot of things and cleaning it up and beautifying it. And we're also adding the Gold Star Memorial as part of the city's memorial. So I'm really excited about that. It's actually absolutely beautiful. And so we're still kind of going over like the last odds and ends of perfecting this. We hope to have everything unveiled by the November 11th Veterans Day ceremony that we're going to have here at the city. So stay tuned for more information on that. And then do you want me going forward to give my National League of Cities update as old and new or as a committee report?
What would that fall under? Probably old and new.
I'm not sure it matters. It's probably convenient to do it.
You know, I'll just do it during old and new because I usually have something else that I talk about too. So
Okay.
I can wait. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, real quick. You know, Casey Richards and his team over at the MAID CDC make my update on the downtown committee pretty easy. I'm just very thankful for what they've done, and they come and give a pretty detailed explanation on their efforts and what they're doing. And as they explained, I would highly suggest if anyone's interested to get involved at makethemile.com. I know there's some meetings coming up, and so I just, like I said, they always leave before I can appreciate them, but I just like to thank them for coming in and just giving an update every council meeting on that, so.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we are to item 33, old and new business. And before I ask if anybody has anything, Eric, I was talking to you earlier about the next meeting, the day before the next meeting is Easter. I just want to make sure we're going to have a majority here on that day. Did you figure anything out?
I can't say I totally figured out. Now would be a good time to confirm. I did speak with a few. I don't think anyone had a conflict with the 10th.
I just want to make sure, and that's not a problem for you guys being closed on Friday before the meeting.
No.
Okay.
We'll still get the packet out Thursday.
I'm good. I'd rather not change the meeting. I just want to make sure we have a majority to be here. Okay.
Jennifer reminded me, it probably will be a problem. I'm not sure we'll be able to have a council meeting until Kendra comes back. So just keep that in mind.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, all right. Does anybody have any old new business?
Mayor, I do.
Okay.
So as you all know, I'm the vice chair of the National League of Cities Small City Council, and we've met 3 times already since our last meeting. We're really an eager group, and it makes me happy to work with people who really want to push forward and get things done. So right now we are working on our top 20 grants for small communities. I've kind of expressed my opinion before that there's so many grants out there in some of the smaller communities, and we're considered a small community. Some of the smaller communities don't always know of all of these grants, and some of the communities don't have like a specific person hired just to look at grants. So I'm always worried we're going to miss a grant. So we are trying to pick the top 20 grants that small and present it. We have a meeting coming up in March with the whole all of the leaders. So there's 108 different cities that are involved in this group. So we are going to present to them the top 20 grants that we find. So I'll keep you posted, and of course I'll keep the city posted of what we find, so you guys can try to move and get us some money. We're also have had conversations with the Small Business Administration, because I'm really passionate about bringing our smaller businesses into our community, especially if we're going to be developing the downtown. We need to make sure that we have small businesses who are willing to come into our city. And once we get them here, it's really important that we keep them. And so my goal is to get the Small Business Administrative to come up and help us with some options of bringing businesses into our community and keeping them in our community. We also identified there are 5 areas that we're really going to be focusing on this year, and it's economic development, infrastructure, grants, small businesses, and arts in our community. So right now we're just focusing on those 2, the businesses and the grants. So I'll keep you posted as more comes up, but our next meeting, I should come back with some more information, because we're going to meet with 180 other leaders from communities, so very excited about that. And I have one more thing, if I could. The House of Representatives met, and the majority of the caucus is proposing a local government funding increase from 1.6% to 1.7%. And I've been reporting about this for quite some time, because we used to be at 3.68% local government funding, and they've slashed it down to 1.6, and we've been fighting to reestablish this funding, and now they moved it to 1.7. The Ohio Municipal League is very active in helping cities. They are our advocates, and they are trying to fight for a 2.5% increase. And they are asking us, all the cities around, to pass an ordinance supporting the 2.5 increase, and talking to them about how important it is for our communities and what we do with the money that we receive from them. So they're reaching out to us and trying to encourage all of us to meet with our local representatives to talk about the importance of increasing that funding. Also, Jeff, can I send you an ordinance to look at, because we'd like to pass something, or I would like council to pass something that states our support of the 2.5%, and then you can pass it on to council to look at. And that is all I have today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chance?
Yeah, as most of you guys are pretty aware, I'm pretty bullish on Mason, and this is one of the main reasons why. Kristen Day reached out to me, who is Jonathan Day's mother, who passed away on January 9th of 2021 in his sleep. And so she reached out, and it's SUDC, which is Sudden Unexpected Death in Children Awareness Month. And being a father of 3 children, that's something that I truly couldn't imagine. And so my first thing to do is always call Eric and say, hey, Eric, what can we do? And it's usually, every time in these situations, it's without hesitancy that he says, sure, we can do that. And so what that looks like, and I'm hoping, because I told Kristen that it was possibly going to be tonight, but if you notice the bollards outside in our little roundabout area, the colors that represent SUDC are blue and yellow. It might make, so for when you guys walk out there, if they are blue and yellow, well, what's that? Well, if that is, but we do know here in the near future that we are, as a city, at City Hall, going to be recognizing that for Love Like JJ is the foundation that they have created in his memory. And I just like to extend a major thank you to Eric and staff and everything you do when we call, because I think that's, it's stuff like that's what makes a community. So again, I just like to thank Eric and I forget who else was helping with that, but Jennifer. Yeah, assistant engineer. Steve. Okay, all right. But hey, thank you. That's all I really had for that. And I really can't wait to report to see, and I'm hoping I walk out tonight and they're there, so.
Okay, thank you.
No
Anybody?
pressure.
Anybody else have any other old and new business? Yes, Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes, there was apparently a story on Channel 19 about a manhole cover where somebody's car dropped, the manhole broke.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and apparently the car went into the manhole, nobody was hurt or anything like that. And I was just wondering, were we aware of that as a city? Because it made it sound like we weren't doing our job. I'm sure we blocked it off or did whatever we had to when it broke, but the way the story read, it was like, well, we could have done something sooner as far as notify. It's like one person hit it and then somebody else hit it again. Am I missing something in something that was a month ago?
This occurred some months ago.
Yeah,
It was a GCWW manhole cover.
okay,
Vehicle went into it. No injuries, but
Right.
it did look kind of dramatic because one wheel was,
yeah,
a plate was then put on it. The city put a plate on it until GCWW could get there to fix it. There was an issue with the plate a day or two later, and it seemed like a truck maybe had backed up or something, which dislodged the plate. You know,
okay.
those heavy plates that put,
Yeah,
I think a semi had maybe pivoted on it wrong, which had dislodged the plate. So the plate then flipped up. Again, no injuries. We went back out to reposition the plate.
Okay. The story was a little convoluted, as I recall, and it didn't make much sense on that. As we're talking manholes, right outside of the city building, there's a manhole, and I think it needs some asphalt around it.
Mason Montgomery?
On Mason Montgomery. In fact, it's almost opposite of the city manager's office.
I've been over that, man.
Have you been over that?
I tend to agree.
You tend to agree? And I assume asphalt will be in it tomorrow, right? At least a cold patch? Neither one.
There'll be a response tomorrow.
Okay, there'll be a response. Okay, okay. I realize the asphalt plants haven't cranked up yet, but I figure some cold patch might, 10 pounds, 20 pounds of cold patch. Okay, that's all I've got. And yes, I've run over that hole several times too. I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any old and new business? I just wanted to mention that I took a walk in Pine Hill Park a couple weeks ago, and I honestly hadn't been around the whole lake for a long time. But I really so impressed at how the city has, well, on the side of the new aquatic center, there's the new pathway that joins all that up, and that really looks beautiful, the way you guys have all hooked that up. And then also, when you get down, you go down and you come up, and there was all these, used to be like grown-up weeds that were in that one section, and all that's gone now. And I'm going to tell you, that is such a relief, because it used to kind of wig me out walking by there. I don't know why. I just didn't like the fact that you couldn't see anybody that was in there, and now you can just see the whole clear view. It's really wonderful. I really, really like it, and I'm sorry I haven't been using the park more often, but kudos to you guys for... What? It was what? I hope that you're going to keep those weeds trimmed, because, good. All right, thank you. All right, was there anybody else? Okay, we are to item 34, recognition of visitors. Is there anybody that would like to come up to the podium? Please come up and state your name again and your address, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. council members. Rex Jager, 2752 South US 42, Lebanon, Ohio. I heard a lot of speak about the special needs and disabilities, and I just wanted to speak to that. My wife and I are board members of the Hook Art Foundation. Hook Art Foundation is a nonprofit that organizes and hosts special needs fishing derbies for families that have a special needs family member. Most of them are children, but there's also some adults. On that property that was actually on the map earlier, across from the land that was annexed, we purchased that mainly for the lake and actually the room because we've outgrown the last two places for Hook Art. And last year was our first event since the pandemic hit. We had to shut down, and we fed over 300 people the first year at the new property. And I was wanting to find out, I believe Assistant City Manager was speaking about it. I wanted to find out how we could get some information to you or whoever in regards to that, because we pull people from Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, and being Mason, I figured we could also pull from here. I mean, I know we do now, but just to get the word out a little bit more, because it's a full fun day for the family without going to a doctor or a specialist. We provide fishing poles, tackle boxes, food. We even have a monkey that comes out. There's food trucks, and there's jugglers, face painting. It's just a fun day for the families. I just wanted to put that out there and find out what information I can get to you.
Can I talk to you afterward and get your
Please.
contact information?
Yes. Thank you. I don't want to take any more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex.
I think that's great, and you already got a lot of information out just by coming up to the podium there. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to come up and say anything to council? No? Okay, well, thank you all for being here very much. Right now, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Whoa. Okay,
I'll
all in
make the
favor? Thank you all very much. Have a great evening. Happy Easter next month.
Yep.